Hi everyone, it is your natural selection unit assessment day. We have worked super hard on this unit and you are more than ready to take your final test right now. I hope you are continuing to do well and stay healthy. We are going to make sure you're looking at the right lesson. It should say April 2nd and it should have NS 4.4 unit assessment. You should be looking at the PDN. That is the document you should be opening up, not the unit test yet, but the PDN. So once you have your PDN in front of you, you can hit pause and then hit play when you're ready to review your answers. All right, if you're listening again, it means you hit pause, you've done your PDN, and you're now ready to go over the answers. On the first page, there is a multiple choice question. And we can see here that the population at time 1 had brown and white foxes pretty even, and then at time 2, it's mostly brown foxes. So we can tell that the environment must have changed to brown. So we can cross out answer choice 1. Now, we have to figure out how we know the environment became brown, because all the other answers say that, but we need to figure out how we know that. So B says brown foxes are more likely to survive, so the white foxes changed to have brown fur. You should have said that this is wrong. We know that organisms cannot just change their traits just because they need to survive. It would be pretty cool if they could, but they can't. C says brown foxes are more likely to survive, so both kinds of foxes passed on the gene for brown fur to their offspring. This is incorrect as well. The white foxes cannot pass on the brown gene because they don't have it. They have the gene for white fur, so if they have offspring, their offspring will be white. So that is incorrect. The last one says with each generation, more brown foxes survived long enough to pass on the gene for brown fur to their offspring. This is correct. As we know, it means the brown foxes were surviving and reproducing at greater numbers, causing more brown foxes to be born. You can now scroll down to the next page. So on your unit assessment, you're going to be looking at a couple of different histograms. So here we're looking at eagles in Canada and in the United States. And so you needed to pick statements that show what is true about both population. So the first thing we know is that there are more eagles in the population in the United States. If you look there is just more eagles. The bars are higher in the United States than in Canada. And so there are more eagles in the population in the United States. That is answer choice E. The other choice you should have picked would have been C. I apologize for going backwards there and doing E first. C, the two populations have the same amount of variation. In both cases in Canada, there are 4 different sizes of eagles, and same within the United States. The United States just has more eagles in each category, but it has the same amount of differences. The rest of them would be wrong. A, that saying that Canada has more variation is wrong. B, saying the United States has more variation is wrong, because we know C is correct. They have the same amount of variation. D is wrong, saying there's more eagles in Canada. That's not true. The bars are shorter, so there are less eagles. We know E is right. And then F is wrong because it says there's the same amount of eagles, which is not true. That was a really tricky one. That is harder than you'll need to do on your unit assessment. The next question says, which statement is true about the size of the eagles in Canada and in the United States? In this case, we need to look at the actual traits. And we know that the bigger number means a bigger eagle. So we would say that the eagles are bigger in the United States. That's answer choice A. B is wrong because most of the eagles in Canada are around sizes 1, 2, and 3, a couple 4, where in the United States, most of them are 6, 7, 8, which is much bigger. C and D are wrong because we know they're different sizes, and we can determine this from this histogram. Again, that was a tricky question, and I'm like huge shout out to those of you who tried it your best, and especially shout out if you got it right. Now we have more histograms. This one is about rabbits. Some live in the nature preserve and some live in the wild. So which statement is true about the two populations of rabbits? So the first one says the rabbits in the nature preserve have more variation. And the second, B says the rabbits in the wild have more variation. So now I need to look because I know I'm thinking about variation. And I see that in the wild, there are 7 different numbers of fur thickness. We have rabbits with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, many levels, whereas in the nature preserve, there's only 6, 7, and 8. There's lesser traits in the nature preserve. So your answer for this one should be that the rabbits in the wild have more variation. That answer choice is B. C is wrong because they do not have the same amount of variation. They have more variation in the wild. And D is wrong because every histogram can show variation because it shows the different traits. Now, what statement can be made about the thickness of fur in the two populations? We can say that the rabbits in the nature preserve have thicker fur. That is B. Most of the rabbits in the wild have like medium fur thickness, 4, 5, and 6, whereas in the nature preserve, most of them have 7 and 8. So now I want you to think in your head, what must be true about the environment in the nature preserve? This wasn't on your paper, but I want you to think about it. You should be thinking that it must be colder in this nature preserve, which is why having thicker fur was a better trait for these organisms. Now that you've completed this PDN, you are super ready to take your unit assessment. You'll be able to see on Google Classroom that there is another document that has the unit test. It is a PDF. You're not going to be able to make edits on there. There's also a Google survey, which is where you'll put in your answers. If you can open both screens at the same time, that would be the easiest way. So as you're going through the test, you can mark your answers in the survey. If you're working on a phone or something where it's challenging to have both open, I suggest trying to find a piece of paper and writing down your answers as you go, and then you can go put them into the Google survey. Or you could take the note in your phone for the answers if you don't have paper and then put them in the Google survey or something like that. You also can write the answers on a note in your phone or on paper and just send me a picture of it. Whatever is easiest for you will work for this test. If you have any questions, please give me a call or a text. Otherwise, good luck on your test. I'm super excited to see the results. You have all been working very, very hard. I miss you all. Stay healthy.